Joe, how are you doing today, brother?
I am doing very good. I'm doing very good. I need to see day staring at the eclipse.
So yeah, we're just coming in out of the eclipse. That was fascinating. What's your take? Is there what do people need to know about the eclipse?
I mean, there's not. I, what's amazing to me is the hype that surrounded it. I mean, normally when you nerd out like this, you're alone, but this was national news. I mean, this I guess there's very few things that really do sort of unite everybody, and an event like this pretty much is as close as you're going to get. I mean, even the Super Bowl is kind of laid out and partisan and, you can't really do too much with it. That's although, I did see some tweets, into the world type tweets for people in Congress, so they can ruin anything.
Oh yeah, and they do regularly. So your dad is in town and you guys watch it together, right?
Frank Pappalardo is in town, age 89, still rattling around, pretty sharp, likes to spin a yarn or two, maybe more than once. So but yeah, he was in town. The glasses. See, we're in Texas here in South Texas. There's a lot of cloud cover, so we saw better eclipse coverage without the glasses than in the film.
Huh.
So the clouds were filtering enough of the light that we could see a pretty nice crescent. And then if the cloud cover became too thin, it was blinding. So, we did that for a little while, until the damage probably became too much. But it's,
I
it,
stared a little bit too.
I found that was a better way to do it. But I suspect the damage, the potential from the eclipse is kind of overblown. But now I'm not so sure. And I'm still seeing
we
spots.
should, let's see. Yeah. I like that idea of it being sort of a media event, but also like a cultural gathering event. Because I noticed that it was something everybody was talking about.
What's the latest thing that everyone talked about all at once? And
Yeah.
then you spat out it in a positive way. You get a very, very short list. So yeah, absolutely. And why not? It's a good reason as any. Not No other planet that we know of has perfect eclipses like this. But the moon is just the right size and the right distance to create this effect. Partial eclipses all over the place, sure. But that nice, complete, and utter bullseye, that's extremely rare in the known universe, which these days is bigger. It's not just our solar system. We're talking about well beyond that. So it's rare, and we probably should appreciate it.
So my 4-year-old had some really great questions. I was like scrambling to write them down because
Yeah.
she kept asking why this happens.
Oh yeah, and you just get into the shadow, and you could a couple of. It's not an easy concept, honestly, to get around. But I found that the easiest way I found to stay had to do with some of the images from the International Space Station, which shows a gigantic shadow moving along the surface of the planet. But then that's the way they perceive the eclipse. And when you see that, it becomes very clear. Moon in between the sun and they cast a shadow, and it's just that at that perfect timing that it blots it out exactly right so that you can see the edge of the sun, which you can never see because it's just too damn bright. Which is great for science, and it was also pretty majestic to see that under some protective bottles. So it's an easy concept to explain to how to be visual. And I found that the best visual that I've ever seen was Dave from the International Space Station just today. So that's why I used it to explain it to my girlfriend's mother, who has zero interest in this. But my father had a deep interest in all things space and the space flight. So I like experiencing things like this with him, living with Starbase in the next couple of days too, so I can show him around there. And it is the reason I got into space and science to begin with. He's a scientist, I'm not a creative type, but I always had that interest. And it's because he tried me out to look at satellites and the space shuttle and, black holes and telescopes by Lake Sumago up in Rockland County, New York. to look at the telescope club, was looking at Saturn. I mean, that kind of stuff really sticks. You've got a larva now. You're experiencing these events, it's gonna stick, even if it doesn't seem like it is. It's in her, experiences somewhere, and that is it's a broadening way of looking at the world. That can only be good. So, hey, good on you for getting the kid out to experience that.
She watched about 2 minutes of it, then had to watch Paddington for the other. However, she's just like she was over it pretty quickly. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I didn't know that your dad was a scientist, but it makes perfect sense because, I mean, for starters, you're one of my favorite journalists in general, but you're certainly the
It's like
best
Paul
science
Moe, the
journalist.
smartest stooge.
And one of the funniest out there too. Yeah, but like your understanding of like science in general, especially space and aeronautics, and your interest in all that, it makes sense that it started a long time ago because you know a lot.
It's just I was lucky in that he was able to explain complicated things in a simple way, which became my entire job description, especially
Yeah.
in journalism. So that was a good experience to have as a customer of that. He was a space scientist, he's a chemist, right? But he had all these curiosities, and he was so well read. He had the answers to almost anything. So a trivial pursuit where he is absolutely ferocious. So, having access to a line like that when you're young is great, and you realize that when you get older, not everyone has that. So, no, I don't have the mind of a scientist, but I know how to ask questions and appreciate a good answer, and in that way, it's that mold was set a long time ago, I guess.
Did you grow up in New York? Is that right?
Yeah, we're
Where'd you grow up?
35 miles outside of New York City, in Rockland County, and then went to school in Missouri, and then went to Mexico and started working in Texas. After I left up in South Texas here, where I live, right after I worked in Mexico, which was my first job out of college. And I worked for the daily newspaper here. A friend of mine heard about my living conditions in Mexico, and it was pretty dangerous. And
Mexico
things were
City, right?
yeah, bad things were happening. The economy was really bad. So, in Mexico was really, really dangerous. So, just you've been to Spanish skills and experienced, come through hard times and save your life, please. And that's exactly what I did. So, fast forward many years later, decades later, I used a place to sort of do my freelance writing career and really focus on that. Purpose especially immediately thought in the Texas. I was in Dallas. So I thought I'll come down here and live close to the water and see how things go. And now, almost 7 years later, I'll see real reason to leave.
Yeah, especially with because how close are you to Starbase?
About, what, 2.5 hours, maybe?
That's not
So,
bad.
no, I'm the closest journalist the National Geographic has, certainly. So, that alone. I was able to cover Starbase for Botman the Planet and National Geographic just by virtue of being close. I mean, I worked to those magazines previous to moving down here, but at the same time, I was the shooing god to go down there, cover a launch, or talk with photo crew through how to know when they're going to launch and where to be and all this and that. So it could open up all the opportunities, being the guy who's close by, rather than moving to New York close to the Nerve Center or DC or even Cape Canaveral where there's face journalism that's where I stick with that green one. And hitting a good one. That's a journalism beat that is stocked with very, very talented people. So,
Hmm.
being down here, there's this balance negative. So that's definitely beneficial as well. When I want to do the magazine thing, I like to cover space flight. So,
Wow, how old were you for your first space launch? Your first rocket launch?
I was pretty old. I had been working on the staff at Opera Mechanics and had never seen a space launch. So I saw the final space shuttle launch. And I mean, I was in my room. I was almost 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was, but I hadn't been to the Cape. I had, you know, been Explosion, but for the launch, it's something absolutely new. And after I saw that, I was nuts. I started sailing all over Greece, went to French Guiana. I went to Wallops Island, Virginia, went to Vandenberg, um, to Walton ICBM test of all things, which is a rocket launch, a space launch by another name. So, pulling out to Montana and we're out to ICBM fields, which I consider one of these spaceports, and I started going down to Starbase, looking at the private space at first, and then went out to Grand Farm a couple of times also for invited, actually, but even before they're sending invitations, flaunting the gates and trying to see the and all that kind of talking to local bartenders and try to glean a little bit of what Bezos was up to in Cali. So it was cool. I got to see when you launched into space for the first time on that suborbital trip, and it was just cool because driving inside that gate, and I've been working outside for years and years. But that was the most exciting part for me. I just being able to look around and see what they were up to, finally. So it was cool. It was a good experience.
You were also there for the recent explosion, right?
A couple of them, yeah. Went down in Starbase. The most recent one was the first test flight for Starship, the very first. And that was a lot of damage on the pay. The place did not go well. Except they did go well. And it got off the pad and it did fly. And I haven't been to another one since then because I was waiting for the actual orbital. So I think they're going to get the next one. I think that's the
What does the orbital mean?
That it'll actually reach orbital velocity and it'll try and use some kind of actually, I think that time it did reach orbital velocity. This last test launch, we didn't think it was going to happen. But it couldn't survive it didn't survive re-entry. So I think the next one will be a full successful mission. But more importantly than that, I think that the booster testing come back and try to land in a controlled way in the Gulf of Mexico. And I think watching that or being there for that moment is going to be a really big deal. I think they might be able to do that this next time. So, I don't know. These are all just excuses. If I had time, I'll go down almost any launch. But,
Yeah.
covering SpaceX means, especially if you're not doing it on a regular beat, you got to pick and choose. They're too busy. And imagine that. I can't cover all the test launches and it's only 2.5 hours away because they do too many of them. But that sentence alone is just 15 years ago. I would say there's no space beat that can never happen, and that's SpaceX, So even complaining about being too busy, it feels great on a space team these days.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to write about. And you mentioned French Guiana. Did you write a book about that whole experience? Is that right?
Yeah, that was going to Space for Earth.
Okay.
The trip down there and find out.
I haven't read it yet, but it's on the list.
That's a fun one. That's one of my favorite space trips ever. I mean, it was a beautiful launch and everything, but it's like a 1950s science fiction cover. There's jungle and monkeys and big rockets, and there's French engineers crawling around and there gun battles with illegal gold miners, and I mean the whole place. You're just drinking rum, and there's Brazilians. The whole thing is just nuts. So I love that. I mean, it was extremely adventurous and very, very cool. I would go back. I don't know how to top the trip that I had. It's like Devil's Island, Happy Island, if you've ever read that. Right there. So
nice.
Yeah, the infamous French penal colony. And you couldn't escape because they were throwing so many people into the water, supposedly, that the sharks would flock their meat. And so trying to escape by rafting that. And sure enough, we put the fish fighter on. There's a lot of life there. So with or without the body story, Yeah, there's a lot of great fish there. So I think we'll at least confirm that on the way after visiting like the ruins of this peanut colony. There's a really cool like bed and breakfast there on it now, and the ruins are still placed in it. It's creepy location. And then you walk through, and then there's a radar station for tracking the rockets that go up. So
Huh.
juxtaposition of old and horrible, and
It's
new
in
and
the
hopeful.
so it's in the penal colony, the old penal colony.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
absolutely, yeah. It's right off of the
wow.
island. Is right off of the island where the pinafoli is. Where is you know had its actual equipment that they use for rocket launches on there. It's sailed, tracking stations, and then on the mainland is the actual launch pad and those facilities. But it's a sprawling place, and the French. I mean, the French Foreign Legion is able to sort of been with them for a pretty long day, and sat down to eat with the returns to Brandy. So we shot the shit at them for a while. And they were an interesting bunch, and they're the ones who protect the rocket. And they're in the middle of a pretty intense campaign with leaving global alarms that come in from Brazil. So while I was down there, I was going to do a whole story about that, unrelated
Dude.
to the rockets. And then I threw it all into the books. This is all, it's just too cool to talk about.
Oh, that belongs in a book, man. Why did they pick that as the launch site?
Oh, well,
Like,
you're on the equator. You got
okay.
to circle out of mass advantage. Get the boring ass orbit for your fuel because of the spin of the Earth. You stay faster at the start. It's because of the force of the spin. So that extra month means you could run more payload further down the fuel that you have. And that's the trick to rocket launch, like right there. Keeping everything light and keeping the fuel cost low, because that's the heaviest part of the rocket is the fuel. Getting out of orbit is the hardest part of any space flight operation. That's where most of the weight goes in a rocket. It's certainly not the payload. So, say if you improve that, it's worth it, including the Europeans building in there, across the ocean in South America, and that's a huge pain in the ass logistically, but the mass to orbit calculations make it worthwhile. So that's where they built it. That's where the peak is where it is, and that's where Starbase is where it is as well.
I always wondered why it was, Cape Canaveral and Houston specifically.
Well, Houston is just due to the politics. Mike's just Johnson.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's
Oh, because there aren't any launches from Houston, right?
no, nothing
Gotcha.
like that. It's well, that's a whole long story. But yeah, that was basically just it had to be located somewhere, and the guy with the most control over that budget was a Texan, so Johnson. Hey, been a really, really effective legislator, and he got to go in court. So he really been all centralized in Florida, but in a weird way, it sort of benefits that it is spread out a little bit. But again, that's what it is from from an efficient and from an efficiency standpoint. You probably shouldn't put it all in Florida, but they had one good storm to knock them all out. So
Yeah, that's we're going to Houston. I lived in Houston for a while before we met in Dallas. And I never went to NASA. So we're taking the girls down in a month or so, and we're going to do NASA. What should we spend time with?
they have cool stuff there. I mean, if you stick with the displays and what the history that was made there is, control room type history. So, watch Apollo 13 first, and then you'll get a sense of, oh, that happened, here. So when they say Houston, we have a problem, you'll know exactly, this is where the people listening on the other end of that transmission, and that's where the decisions were made, and where the grade center of that. And so if you understand the relationship of the control and the mission, a certain mission these days has a handful of people, but there's hundreds, if not thousands of people backing them up while they're doing that. So when someone steps on another planet or someone's on the moon or does something in orbit, it's not just that person doing it. It's a good Lord and all these other people, keeping them safe and keeping them alive to keep you on mission. That's mission control. So there's certain instances of teamwork that are the ultimate lesson in teamwork. If you don't trust that person, you may never have met them. But if you don't trust them to build something or be able to, on the radio to think, being good for God, then you're dead. And that's space flight, and that's like a very human endeavor. If you're a kind of green feeling, you're not going to make it up there.
Yeah.
Not at first. Once we get really good at it, it'll really be as far as everything else. But most helpful people look at space flight, there has to be a way forward just because of that. I'm a little more skeptical, but there is that school. I take subspace, so I'm feeling a little soft, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like what I've always noticed is that you are skeptical, but you're also like on the subject of AI. You're kind of like, a lot of that is dramatic or spectacle.
Yeah. Yeah, people tend to overreact to a lot of things, and then they underreact to things that are really important. So that's true, which is funny, but mostly these days it's the overreaction, and the skeptics usually in the long run are the ones who have it right. So every now and again that's not true, but reflexively you sort of go that direction. With in science reporting, an engineering report even better was how stuff work, right? So you didn't have to go down with rabbit holes and believe all that much, but even then you get something or like debunking and things like that. And with AI, it's like the benefits are so huge, and the fear is articulated so stupidly that it's hard to take time to take it seriously. But there's other things that are a lot more serious. And people ignore it entirely. The GPS spoofing. No thoughts are not for that GPS spoofing on now right now. Like things
what does that mean?
So there's a switch over for all commercial aircraft. So every time you board an airplane, it has a transponder that uses satellite to give us GPS coordinates. It's a lot more precise. It's hugely curved. However, of course, people have long known that it's easy to mess with the GPS signals and make the GPS even think it's somewhere up to broadcast it somewhere else other than where it is. This happens with boats all the time too, except it's AIS spoofing. It's just locational data. I'm here, but I'm saying I'm over here. So, or even worse, you're there, but I'm saying you're over here, which is what's happening. So there's jamming going on, mostly from Russia at this point, on aircraft all over Europe. And it's part of the routine flights. And the people on board, the satellite feed goes out and the other team goes out all this off. They don't realize they're in the middle of this, but the satellite, you can almost follow it. And the element fall, they would call electronic warfare. But they're being attacked by Russians. So not for nothing, no one wants to talk about that. Those GPS jammers are important. So I mean, you could easily set that up elsewhere. You could easily set that out as a non-state actor, which is the fun way of facing a terrorist group. They really rid some havoc with that. So, that's out there. No one talks about it. That's a real fear. That's not conspiracy. You can watch the real-time tracking GPS movie where it's coming from. It's terrifying. So.
Is that what happened in Baltimore?
No.
With the bridge?
No. You can tell because the ships have the AIS, Automated Information Systems, or something like that. And maritime tracking, you can do it all the time. You can do that real time too. In fact, I live near the port, so whenever I want to know where a ship's coming from, I just look it up. I see where it started, what's on it. It's a really good system. So you can AIS track. And then it disappears from then you're done with all of those ships.
Huh.
A lot of ghosts are going through the Suez Canal right now because the AIS guy, every asshole, me, ready to hit you with a missile, knows you're out there and he turns you. So, but anyway, the AIS guy was on the shipping boat the whole time. And you can tell exactly what happened. It knew where it was in every single segment of that. Plus, we could see the power flickering on and off, right?
Hmm.
So, then there's now this is the problem. I'm not familiar with that chip design, but there was built in a lot of dark smoke, or
Hmm.
dark something beforehand. So, if the conspiracy theories of Joe Pappalardo said, "Why is he black smoking the power going now?" Maybe someone sabotaged it. So, well, that's a really far fetched theory. Oh, you can't just do the fuck it really because there's black smoke in the power now. I guess if you really know what you were doing, you could do that, but how would you know it was going to hit the bridge and what? It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a
Yeah.
lot of planning for a very low impact strength for a terrorist attack. It's nothing for a maritime accident. It's a huge deal about. So it's not spectacular. Right? It's spectacular as a Wilson Room thing. So then you think, all right, well that's not the most plausible explanation, but the power is going on and off. Let's hear what the people what they said on the radio, and they said, "Oh my God, the power is on and off. We're getting out of close to the bridge, right?" So
Mm.
you don't even have the idea that it was a disgruntled person creating the ode to the bridge for in a suicide sort of play, right? So you rule that out and say, "All right, now it's really not nefarious those ways." And the power going out is, that'll do it. That'll do it. You can't block the port of Baltimore with a line of fences. They just have to come through there. So that's what happens.
So, let's get back to space and astronauts, because astronauts fascinate me so much. This like overlap between like engineer and just fucking cowboy. What is it? Is there like a set of characteristics that makes someone able to be an astronaut?
Dependability,
Mm.
the right height requirements. I mean, honestly, it's that good at math. Um, you know, uh, Being pretty straight laced. I mean, it's not a particularly exciting cadre. Um, they're great people, but even your Apollo era people, and the shuttle era. I mean, they're very cool, and they're very accomplished, and they're extremely but the point of what's coming, and I talked to Derek Reese a little bit about this. He's a NASA astronaut. He flew and the shuttle. He's one of the guys who was on the arm of the shuttle with, so he's
Oh,
got a
yep,
lot of
yep.
time on Spacewalks.
Gotcha.
And is a great guy and a great explainer as well. Very personal. So Derek recently, kind of saying, it's not about putting you up there anymore.
Hmm.
Because you're pretty awesome, right? It's about putting me up there. I said,
Yeah.
I don't have the training. I don't have this and that. I'm not going to spend my lifetime trying to get there. But maybe one day I'll be a ticket holder. Or like there's a little, sponsor me in that sort of situation. But it's about opening it up to people who are not the top 1%. They don't even 1% financially. I mean,
Yeah.
the top 10 percentile of health, intelligence, specialization. You want people. That's why when space force go up, I think as long as they're taking biological reasons, what spaceflight does to kind of reach bodies, all we're going to get is athletes. Here's how
Mhm.
spaceflight affects athletes at X and Y age. So you can't democratize spaceflight. You can't open it up to everyone on board of not the first enterprise, but the one with like real media and the families and shit. But if you want to colonize, if you want to have you got to get people up there who are not Captain Kirk. You need you need a pump. You need a rest house. You need like everyone to
Yeah.
know. So you need data on
You
everyone.
need a
So
journalist up there.
you need more journalists, and God knows they're not the most physically fit specimens. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's part of what's happening when it comes to private space flight and getting beyond. Astronauts are so cool; they get to go to space too. Space is so
Yeah.
cool; we all get to go. It's not going to be exclusionary. It's not fighter pilots and test pilots and you're just scientists with those specializations. It's, now having said that, for neutron, you want people, right? And there's got to be
Yeah.
psychological testing and then NASA flights and all that, but there's still going to be an elite cadre of test pilots, sergeant engineers, science explorers, and they're always going to be badass. But, lurking in low Earth orbit are going to be those other people from the status who are like doing blue collar jobs and,
Huh.
growing weed in hydroponics and just like checking out the scene. Gotta be back filling that like sci-fi dream while the explorers do the exploring. So that's kind
I
of cool
love it.
too.
Yeah.
That's part of the sci-fi feature I'm looking forward to. It's not very well represented in NASA certainly. And the closest we got is Elon, and he has to back down. So there's, that they don't drug test everyone in space ITN. Or everyone to fill up stuff.
So Elon, what's his trajectory, if that can even be charted, for the next like 2 years? What do you think he'll come through with?
I don't know. I don't think it's Elon. I'm having Elon predicted this. It can't SpaceX can't possibly do in the next couple of years. Because that's Elon Glenn Shotwell, who's that guy was there, and she is the reason why all of his dreams were being realized. It's a fantastic catch. I mean, Elon's not going to achieve this there. It's made genius level moves from the moment you step into warfare. So the third answer, verified by fun. I tend not to downplay their ambitions. They're going to be ready for Artemis, I think. I think some of the hardest parts of launching Starship are going to be worked out. I think they're going to have 7 or 8 launches from South Texas this year. And I think they're probably going to try and catch the booster. So the whole key for them is reusability. And they want to land the booster on the same launch pad that it left from. Which is completely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So if I see that, then I will have seen it all at that point. Then everything will come full circle. Because I saw my Edge boosters come back to it at once. And I thought, that's the most amazing feat of aeronautical engineering I'm ever going to see in my lifetime. And if I see this thing come back and they go out in the chop space, it comes down and hovers under rocket power, and then literally just rests on these 2 joysticks. It's the cat and the V from the launch tower, and then those joysticks then move, and it's crazy. And then the Starship will be put on top of the hoop. I'm not saying it. The whole idea of it's crazy, but okay, there you go. They made me start doing those tests later this year, so I'm thinking a functioning and orbital Starship by the end of next year, to be totally honest. And
Wow.
that could take, I think that could take phase 2, maybe the first piece of the Artemis program to be done and ready. And it'll sit and wait for Artemis, but it's not going to sit and wait because it's going to be a flight-proven piece of hardware. They'll start landing it on the moon.
Wow.
In advance of Artemis. So then they'll have a proven lunar lander. And
with people on it? On the ship?
No.
Okay.
Well, here's the interesting thing no one talks about. Starship isn't rated to carry human beings during a launch. It'll be rated to carry human beings from the lunar orbit to the lunar surface. And all it has to do by NASA.
So this is probably a kind of a basic question, but is it true that the statement about the Apollo 11 having less processing power than one app?
Probably. I know that it's one phone, and even an older generation phone had multiples of that more power, like computational power than the Apollo. But the physics don't really change. I mean, they worked those things out. They knew what it was going to do. It was just math. So do you need all that computational power? Obviously not, because we did. So the computational power is nice. And it comes in ways it can be less redundant, it can be more precise. You don't have to plan for as many contingencies going wrong with it. It's a huge enabler, but at the end of the day, rockets are pretty much shaped the same as rockets. And capsules are pretty much the same as capsules were. And, the lunar landers are, that they're all following after the same things that were learned during Apollo, and the designs reflect that. The materials are different, the computers are different, the sensors are different. The ability to do things is very, very different, but you gotta tip your hat to the people who use slide rulers to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah.
Because they nailed it. They nailed the big questions. The rest of us are just fine tuning the rest of it to optimize what they learn,
And they nailed it within 100 years of space flight, like Kitty Hawk Field, or the beach. It's incredible that we did it in that amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a miracle if there was no space flight and there was commercial aviation as we have it now. That was the only thing that happened after it. That would be amazing, and you wouldn't believe it could happen that fast. But yeah, people on the moon, going back to Houston to cover intuitive machines and have a lunar lander. That was going to the moon, standing talking. And I'd been there years and years before, but it was just honestly, Repeat outfit with very smart people with no money, so they had a mobile test day to drive around and set up to test the rockets. And, it was really just a handful of NASA engineers who ran away from the company. Kind of then, years later, when you were, and it's been 4 years. When the time it takes to get an undergraduate degree, we established an entire year from. And that thing that I was standing in front of landed on the moon. It tipped over when it got here to get ran, and then performed every science mission, so it's a success. That's a new reality for me, and a new reality for a lot of people. And there's so many great things coming. It's like the one point of positivity we'll see at a given day. In my email or Twitter feed or even the conversation, everything else is sort of going downhill. But spaceflight is what it should be. Like the shining example of, if people back off just a little bit, what can we achieve? And I don't know what your hang up is. If it's the environment, you should be excited about Earth sensing satellites. If it's power, you should be excited about, solar panel in space, taking power back down, or we're into materials that invented, or we did power cells or new solar panels that gave benefits to this. Like, maybe you're into the military and you're really interested in. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't now in Hagman's. There's always something interesting in space, but that you could be excited about. So, or maybe I'm a nerd. I don't know.
No, I like that framing. The fact that doesn't matter who you are, like political beliefs, religious beliefs, anything like that. We should be looking upward and around us.
It's literally the golden age of spaceflight right now.
That's so exciting.
Apollo was a great run, right? And then a big disappointing delay. Well, and I love the shuttle, trust me, but it wasn't exactly the era of progress and usher in what we needed it to. So this is sustainable. This is not at the whim of the government program. I mean, Apollo was extremely wasteful, right? I mean, you can't have the Apollo program for everything. It's a dumb metaphor, even. It means you're going to waste a ton of money by doing things all at once instead of doing things in a logical way and in a way that you're in a race with another people. It's not the way thing to duplicate.
Yeah.
So this doesn't duplicate that. This is something completely new and different. And it's not just going to be SpaceX. There's other companies coming out now. And SpaceX enable a lot of them, sometimes literally by having to right orbit, but even just conceptually, there would have been intuitive machines without SpaceX. And those other early companies that were delivering cargo to the space station. So I mean, there's a short heritage to the cow. I definitely space for the race for the cow. So really, the early years of information space study companies coming out of the conceptual stage to actually do stuff. So
What is use the phrase intuitive machines? Is that right?
yeah,
What does that
that's the name
mean?
of the company that operates
Okay,
out of the Houston spaceport.
got
That
you.
that lander on the moon.
Uh, do you think humans will ever make it to a different galaxy?
A different galaxy.
Yeah,
Probably not.
yeah.
The smart monies, no. The smart monies will probably die before we get off the planet.
Yeah.
So if you really want to get that, that's how I would So
There's some of that optimism I was talking about.
and then you can travel so far and so long that are you even still going to be technically classified as a human when you get there? Because you're
Yeah.
going to be living generation after generation in space environment. You don't know what you're going to look like when you get there. Or we're traveling so fast, wormholing around or something like that. Well, that's dangerous. That would be the only way we had. I mean, if we had that kind of technology, we may have sort of transcended as well to like
Huh.
a post-human sort of a phase. So, yeah, probably not. You know, the best what we human being would be that we have sort of a, very, very fast in the light, time space bending travel mechanism that we can get there, but still be recognizable as us instead of our, distant relatives. Sending out, you know, but God, you're talking about an entire evolutionary scale almost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It would be humans evolving in ways that would be completely unhuman, like bone
Or,
density and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, the solution for that is you set up a robot to tend to a bunch of embryos, and then you
Huh.
see the embryos, but that poses its own problems too. Like when now
Yeah.
it's been hacked, I don't know about it. You're gonna be technically you're gonna be human, but then where you can start pushing boundaries. So
Yeah, I forget the name of the principle, but it's like, you know, you can't you can't propose anything that would take longer than 8 years, because that's the amount of time that technology would come to life that would make that obsolete.
it seems to be about right. Some people say it's speeding up. Some people say it's sped up and now slowing down. I think it's all very situation. I think the weather has a lot to say about it. I think, plague outbreaks have a lot to say about it. I mean, who the hell knows these solar cycles? They have a lot to say. We don't know all the variables. I mean, what makes wine a good year? What makes a Stradivarius sound like it does? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that flapping of the butterfly wings across the world type shit. Like, that you don't really know. And sometimes what I see, it's a confluence. Everything lines
Mhm.
up exactly right, everything lines up exactly wrong. And
Fuck.
those are the times when things really move fast, either one direction or the other. So with space right now, everything lined up in this exact sort of right way to move the needle in my lifetime. Everything else in comparison is completely stagnant or falling to backwards or what have you. So a lot of things have to be, and then that's just disaster theory too. Chernobyl, everything had to be set up in the exact right conditions for it to go wrong perfectly.
Hmm.
How does that happen? 90% happen that, but that's Satan used to study modern mechanics, and I kind of twisted and worked with some around to personal viewpoints of things. But yeah, I mean, it's fault trees and it's kind of learn about how to prevent stuff from going wrong by looking at what went wrong. And when you look at stuff that goes wrong, it's never just the one thing that goes wrong. So I think, well, it's never just the one thing that goes right either. So
What I love is that it seems to line up a lot. I mean, it's beautiful that we're talking about things lining up on Eclipse Day. It's just there's a mystery to existence itself and to life that's so fascinating to me, because things do line up a lot, even within our personal lives. Just like the connections we make with other people.
I'm always worried of these, sort of limited pattern recognition or various
Gotcha.
biases that you bring in,
Yeah.
and I do believe I don't believe in coincidence. He said it cool thing to say that all of the investigative journalists, you found this and this, but I do believe it's terribly.
Yeah.
But more to it, I things aren't that it's not magic, right?
Yeah.
There's usually some thing that if you frame it in a way, I'm trying to think of a good example, like you're walking down a trail and there's a quiet patch over here and he's away from it. Subconscious. You didn't know it was there, but you're reacting to a stimuli, subconscious. That ain't magic.
Yeah.
That's an evolutionary goes. The God knows it's a helpful, right? There
Yeah.
could be a dog in there. There could be a bobcat, There could be a guy with a knife. You don't know, but you know that it's fine. It's loud here with animal noise. It's fine here. I don't like it, So you're processing these things subconscious, and that's cool. It's not extrasensory because this isn't the brain that consciously process all the information it's getting. So sometimes you get this glean of information from somewhere that just seems like it's being down, which is giving to you. There ain't no angel up there handing it down or a devil even. It's just you. It's just you. And take credit for it or take blame or be happy it's there. But, that's inspiration or that's sometimes ESP or sometimes X. I knew that was going to happen. As soon as something happens and your brain is processing it and I knew you were going to call the minute after they just call. That's not ESP,
Yeah.
That's a brain stiff, right? There's certain ways you can diagnose it. But I have to remain open-minded to supernatural things because it's so boring not to, right? I mean,
That's
it's just so boring, but I've never encountered anything that ever qualifies. Like, I'm like the disappointed skeptic guy, but I'm not, I'm not that disappointed. I'd be a lot more frightened and terrified if I saw a UFO or saw a stunt tape or, whatever. I have a ghost video. What am I going to do with it? I'm supposed to be assigned for it. So I'm hopeful that I'll get her gay. That realm. This bitch is in your ready to buy.
Yeah, like the beauty of evolution is part of what you just captured is overlooked by too many people, I think. And it's sort of typecast poorly. Because even I think there's room for somebody who has faith or who has an idea outside of that, some of the ideas you just described, for them to look and appreciate the beauty of this system that has made us what we are.
Thanks for that. I think I got influenced by going to Italy when I was young, and there's really, and maybe the race, and talk about biases, but now I'm Italian, I live and I was a teen, my first trip on a plane, and I was blown away because it's such a synthesis of understanding the world through science, the tools that are given, and that is their way of getting closer to God, understanding God's systems, respecting God's systems by understanding. He gave us these tools. We're going to look into it. We're getting closer to ultimate answers. We're getting closer to how things work. And yeah, those things were also tools to conquer your environment. But there was that romantic strain in it where I'm getting closer to the system that God set up. So what I'm doing is not only important, but it is spiritually important. It's part of my faith. There's no conflict there. It's the exact opposite. It's the most respectful thing you can do is remind your is to build that up. And that part of it, an aspect of it, not buried alive and not the heresy and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all cool. Like, I'm a little kid. I think that's awesome. But the thing that struck me stuff was, through all that calamity, you can still go and see the actual, this interfaction of instruments in Florence is better than the it's
Wow.
amazing. The early physics and then how far back that goes and how the thinkers of the found software and preserve it and all that knowledge and these are religious artifacts. Like
Wow.
those activities for religious artifacts too at the same time. And they didn't have that conflict. So I was I was applaud people who can see that and bridge it and want to build that bridge because they shouldn't be a conflict. Like
Yeah.
they should be. What do you learn through science that makes the world a less wondrous place? Right?
That's funny.
You
Yeah.
know. And so unless your idea of what philosophy is doesn't mean fun is that feeling,
Yeah.
then I guess you would be left out. But if you do have that in your art, I mean, it's an easy way in. I never saw the conflict.
I love that. I love that connection because that's how I feel too. I have much less of a problem with what someone's religion or non-religion is, uh, as I do with like an aversion to the capacity for wonder and an eye for beauty. So we're gonna. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Have to tie it together because it's too perfect.
Yes.
Midway through the eclipse, when the clouds first started to part, and you realize we were going to be able to actually see it, and saw 15, 20 times in the patches of the clouds going by, we can see it. It's more important than 50. It's like it's like the screen of Star Wars, like in the beginning, like go fast, rolling ass real fast. And we're screaming, and Amber's really happy. Her mom's happy. My dad's screaming, and his team and saying, "There it is!" And we can see the eclipse. And I heard a voice across the fence, and I thought there's excited people like that, but tall enough I can see over it. And my neighbor was watching professional wrestling. And I thought, there's the human experience. There it is. That is a completely true story. That is one of right from the backyard to your ears right now. I swear to God.
I mean, there's a part of me that just thinks that guy's a badass. Like he knows about the eclipse. And if it's wrestling, it's probably WrestleMania because WrestleMania was last night. So it's like he's watching a retake on top of all of it.
He's got priorities, though.
My man, I support it.
He's sitting out there watching WrestleMania with the eclipse overhead.
What a legend.
This is his boss move.
So we're going to talk again next week, but do you want to give us a little preview of what the experience you're going to have with your dad?
I'm not entirely sure, and I'm not trying to set this up as a cliffhanger, but, as he's gotten older, he's become a little more inflexible in new ways of doing things, which is amazing because he was always sort of leaning forward in that in his business and in chemistry and the physics. So you figure, well, Starbase is going to be an immediate connection. And it was because he is curious and has not gone away. And he loves the road trip. So
Nice.
he was never all not on board, but the idea of what's happening there and that it is so different and so iconoclastic and he had this sort of who cares kind of attitude, like it was just one person. It's this one Musk sort of grandiose masturbatory thing. And I was talking about that. I was thinking, listen, like you really feel that way, you don't have to go, but what you're gonna see is a whole new way of it's a very disruptive way of doing things, and I'm not sure that you're going to be ready for it because you come from a very rigid and structured manufacturing environment, and this takes manufacturing and turns it on its head in about 15 different ways. And not just with Spaceport, but in general. And funding, and their business structure, and their PR, and every other damn thing. So it's going to be a little shocking. And I didn't realize that was going to be shocking. And it was. This is going to be a generational thing. And I always blame, stodgy people and ass and greedy people in Congress, but there's just a generational divide there where people can't handle disruptive technologies when they're really working because they're so disruptive. And if it doesn't seem alien, find out disruptive enough. So I don't know if he's going to have a better appreciation of it, lessening appreciation of it, for at least the spectacle we get on. I had a really good time.
Yeah.
So I'd be eager to hear what he has to say about it. I think it's going to be an interesting perspective, and he may, as usual, will have to make some points about it. But I'll say, oh, that's a good point. No one stops and thinks about that. But I think it'll be the surely on the foot sense. This is a place where he really demonstrates like superiority when it comes to knowledge. And within this one asset. So that'll probably have to fight.
That's what every son wants, ultimately.
Yeah, I'm really stacking it down.
Man, I'm really, really excited to hear about your guys' experience. I suspect it'll be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, we have good adventures together on the road. He was a bit traveling and so.
And then we're still figuring. You and I are still figuring it out, but we'll do something with the Western series because you also happen to know a few things about Westerns.
I think there's definitely room for a discussion about the IFS destiny and the people who were caught up in it and wanted to provoke it, rather than the victims of it, which of course is part of the conversation. But I love history as a series of decisions. People decided to do A, you decided to do B. Sometimes they didn't have a lot of the choices, but that's part of the story too. The people partner had choices and made decisions, and that makes them very interesting for character studies. And they weren't all big guys. In fact, many of them were classically considered heroes by any stretch. So,
well, we will dive into that, man. It's great talking to you. You're one of my favorite people, so I always love your input on any situation.
I'm happy to share Eclipse Day with you.
Oh, it was awesome, dude.